Okay, so let's look at one. Let's start it simple, okay? So again, I told you guys when we were doing the Springboard notes, there are two types of problems. The type of problem that we just looked at in Springboard was one option equaling another option, right? So there's one option equaling another option. Here is the second type, okay? This is the type that we actually see more often. The type that we see more often is total equals everything else, okay? So those are the two things you need to remember about word problems. Two options equaling each other, so comparing two options, or total equals everything else. Here we have a total equals everything else problem. So let's read. Suppose you work at a carpenter as a carpenter's assistant. That honestly, in the context of what we're trying to find, doesn't matter now. Okay, it will matter later. You earn, so here's some numbers. Here are some numbers. You earn $106.25. What does that sound like? Sounds what? Sounds like a total to me. It's the total amount they earned. Okay, for working $17 or 17 hours. Then it asks the question, what is your, I always like to squiggle under the question, what's your hourly wage? Okay, the reason I like to squiggle under the question is because remember that question, or the answer to that question is going to be my variable. So if it asks me what's your hourly wage, then what am I going to say x equals? Hourly wage. All right, so I first identify my variable. Now I'm going to write my equation. So total equals everything else, total equals everything else, total equals everything else. Do I need to say it again? Okay, total equals everything else. What is my total? What's the total amount of money I earned? 106.25 equals everything else. How did he earn that money? Working 17 hours. How do you make money when you work 17 hours?
You get paid
Per hour, right? You get paid your hourly wage. So 17 hours times the hourly wage, so 17x. So that's a pretty simple equation. And I solve it. So now I divide by 17 on both sides. So somebody help me out. What is 106.25 divided by 17? Joe? Me? 6.25? Can I confirm that with anybody?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, 6.25. Now, again, if I asked what's your hourly wage, you wouldn't tell me, Mr. Craw, it is x equals 6.25. What would you say? Okay, so I label my answer, $6.25. Always make sure your label matches your question. Okay? All right, let's look at a little bit of a different type here with number 2. So any questions on 1 before I move on? I know I'm kind of going quick here. Questions on 2? Okay, or on 1? All right, number 2. Grandpa Johnson is 75 years old, so that's important. This is, so here's a kind of weird sentence, but it's going to matter. So so Grandpa Johnson is 9 years less than 7 times the age of his grandson. Then it asks me how old is his grandson. Okay, so what is x going to be? Age of grandson. Now I write my equation. So what's the total? 75, so 75, and it says 75, this is, so that's what this is, right? This is 9 years less. So what does that mean? You're going to subtract 9 from something, so I'm going to leave some space and put a minus 9 back there. So 9 years less than 7 times the age of his grandson. So 7 times, what is the age of his grandson? X, right? So that's where a variable comes in. So I've written my equation, now I can solve it. So I add 9, let's do that quickly. 84 equals 7, x divided by 7. What is 84 divided by 7? 12, is that right? So again, you wouldn't say x equals 12, what would you say? 12 years old. Always label your answer. So you see how I kind of break my page into 3 sections? Identify my variable because that's important. I write my equation and solve it. That's the bulk of the work, and then I label my answer because that's important. The start and stop points are very, very important. I don't want you to minimize the importance of identifying your variable and then and then labeling your answer at the end. Those two things are very, very important. Okay, let's look at 4. 4 is tricky. Okay, 4 is a little bit tricky, so stick with me here. It says a basketball player shot 70 times. That sounds like a total to me, so we'll keep that in mind. The number of missed shots was 6 more than the number of baskets. How many baskets did the player make? So what is X going to be? Made shots, or made baskets, however you want to say it. Okay, that's important that I put the made on there because I don't want to just say X is shots because I already know that, 70 shots. All right, so let's write my equation. So what's my total? 70 shots total is equal to, if you shoot a basket, what options do you have? Make it or miss it. How many makes did he have?
6 less than he made. I mean, yeah.
How many makes did he have?
6 less than he missed.
You guys are thinking too hard. How many did he make?
7.
No, he took 70 shots. How many did he make? X, right? It says right there, X equals made shots, right? So X, and I'm going to kind of label this for you here. So this is make, since this one's a little trickier. Plus, how many does he miss? Does it say he missed 6 shots?
6 more than he made.
6 more than he made. So my misses are going to be what? What is 6 more than he made?
X plus 6.
Very good, Colin. If he misses 6 more than he makes, well, he makes X shots plus 6 more. That's why it's confusing, because one quote-unquote variable is in terms of another one. Okay, one unknown is in terms of another one. All right, so do you see how that worked there? Okay, now let's solve it. So, can I remove my labels? Okay, just so I can solve it here. So now I have to combine like terms. So I have 70 equals 2x plus 6, subtract 6, 64 equals 2x. So x is 32. So be careful when you're labeling. What is 32? Let's be more specific than just shots. Let's say shots made. Okay, so 32 shots made. Okay, so you tell me what number 4, the second, I know I messed up the numbers here. You tell me what the second number 4 sounds like, which type of problem it sounds like, okay? So it says one cell phone plan costs $39.95 per month. The first 500, ooh, this is not the problem that I wanted to do. No, mark that out. Just kidding, we're not doing that one. Flip over to the back, oh, scroll down, whatever. Let's do, oh, there aren't any like this on there. Okay, never mind. Let's do number 6 on the back side, and then I will give you guys your homework. Okay, so this one has a little bit more content to it, so we're going to have to decipher what we need and what we don't. Okay, so it's Megan and her friends went out for pizza on Friday night. I don't really care. They order an extra large pizza for $23, so that's important. So that's one way that they spend some money. It also says each person ordered a drink, which cost $2.50. So the drinks cost $2.50. That's another way that they spent their money. And then it gives me a nice word that I like to see. Their total bill came to $33. So find the number of people. So here's my command. It's not necessarily a question. It's a command this time, but it's still the piece of information that I'm trying to find. So find the number of people who went out for pizza. So X is going to be the number of people. Okay? So let's write our equation again. It's total equals everything else. So my total is $33 equals, how did they spend that $33? How many pizzas? Just one. They just are charged $23 one time for that pizza. Plus, how else did they spend their money? How many drinks? 2.5x, right? Because x is the number of people. Each person got a drink. So 2.5 times the number of people, which is x. So solving my equation, I subtract 23 from both sides. So I get 10 equals 2.5x. Divide by 2.5. And I have x equals 4. Again, you wouldn't tell me x equals 4. What would you tell me? 4 people went or something like that. And there's my final answer. Okay, so all the problems that we did on the additional notes here are the total equals everything else kind of problems. The problems that you worked on in the Springboard book were the two options equaling each other kind of problems, okay? So there are both kinds of problems that you have to look out for. There will be both kinds on your homework. So you have to read through and you have to decipher which kind of problem it is, identify your variable, set it up appropriately, and solve, okay?